Hello, Hectic Scalers. Hello, Hectic Scalers. I forgot. Hello, Hectic Scalers. Hello, Hectic Scalers. On this episode, we're going to show you how we did the floor joist.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hectic Homestead. This episode we're going to show you how we're doing the floor joist. I'm not going to show you the whole start to finish, but I'll show you each step individually to kind of make this video a little shorter. I know some of them have been pretty long, and I'm going to try to keep them a little shorter for you guys so you stay interested and don't get bored and take a nap in the middle with me. So, floor joist, let's get to it. Okay, as you can see, we're about 3/4 of the way done with the floor joists. Going to finish them up today and get some floor sheeting down. Using 2x12s for the floor joists, 16 on center obviously. Everything seemed to be going pretty well thus far. Have my stair opening. Still have to add a 2x12 on this side of the stair opening, but we'll get that. Using these 2x4s underneath for spacing to kind of keep them 16 on center from the end. And something different that you probably don't see many people do is every other joist that I do, I'm running my tape from the outside of my band board to the outside of the band board just to make sure that it's staying 30 foot wide, which is the width of the house. Actually just a touch over 30. That way whenever the wall sheeting goes up on the outside, it's not touching any of the exterior block to absorb moisture. So the process for this, essentially just running a string line down the side, lining up your board. I don't have the rim joist. I have it sticking out 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch in some spots because the block aren't perfectly straight, and neither is the sill plate. But I have it in a straight line, so I ran a string line and butted it up to the string line the whole way down. And this little bit of overhang is no problem because you actually don't want your exterior sheeting, if it does come down past the block, to rest against the block and absorb moisture. So this house is 30 foot deep. So to come up with your studs or your joists here, you want to take 30 divided by 2, which is 15, and take off the 1.5 inches for this half of the board. You have 14 feet, 10.5 inches. So you want to cut a touch off of that. That way you have a little bit of wiggle room in the middle. I'm butting all my joists up and then plating them on either side. So that way my 16 on center lands 16 on center the whole way through the house. Some people overlap the boards to where one's running, it runs long over the support beam, and then this one would run past it, on this side. So, but then that takes your 16 on center off on the back half of the house. I didn't want that. So the inspector says a 4-foot plate on either side of the 2x12 to support it, and he wants it nailed off at least every 9 inches. So these are obviously more than 9 inches, or closer than 9 inches. With the nailing schedules, you can go a little more. You can make the nails closer, but not further away. So you wanted that sandwich on either side of that 2x12. Also, these windows are 34 inches wide. So the header over top of them, he said needed to be 4 foot as well. I went ahead and ran them long. I got 2x12 by 10s and cut them in half. So these are actually 5 foot long. And I did that mainly because the windows where they run perpendicular to the joists, if I would have ran a 4-footer, would have stopped in here somewhere. And then it just made more sense to let it run long. But an example would be this one here. runs short of the board, then it would have been a pain getting the 2x12 in there. Or there was one where the joist hanger would have been right next to the header board, and it would have been a pain to get the hammer in there to nail it. I'd rather go over and above as opposed to not as well. So now we're going to go ahead and start cutting some of these joists. What I'm going to do for them is I'm probably going to cut them all and then lay out that half and then this half and then sandwich them together and nail them off. These ones I did all individually, and when I did them, about every other joist, I'd just double check my measurement, make sure I'm staying right around 30. So this one was done a little bit ago. So as you can see, we're right at 30, about 30 and an eighth overall. So doing well, doing well. Let's go ahead and get to it, get some joists cut, get them up here. Okay, so as I said, 30-foot deep house. Gonna need these joists cut at 14, 10 and a half. That way 14, 10 and a half plus 14, 10 and a half plus the 3 for the band board gives you 30. I'm gonna cut about an eighth off, make them a touch short. That way there's some wiggle room.
Are you gonna, maybe you're starting on this side?
I already cut that side of this board. So I'm gonna measure from that side.
This side? Is this an arrow?
Back up, yes. You're in the middle of the camera. Yes, that's an arrow, bud. That's saying I want that side up.
Tell me that word.
And a story I'll tell of the promise of heaven and the warning of hell. Take heed where you ramble, or too soon you will go. Way up on the hillside where the new flowers grow. Well, he met in the springtime, the sun sinking low. Two star-crossed lovers.
14 feet. That's what this says. That means 14 feet. And all these red numbers are inches. So we're going to go 14, 10, and halfway between 10 and 11 is this long one. One little line past it.
That's what I knew was making my height.
Yep.
Saw, lemon saw. What are you talking about? You saw, lemon saw.
Circular stuff.
And the sun-painted picture, and the day turned to night. Come up on the hillside, we'll have a time.
Take it all the way down to the end. See if your tape's long enough. Take it all the way to the end. See if your tape's long enough. It's easy. Look, if you sit it on the board, sit down, and push it out. Try to keep it in the middle. Yeah.
That's a 9 inch. Look at it.
That's 11. These are centimeters. Those are inches. Just watch out. I'm going to cut a board.
Twice. Well, the air was so still.
So now we have all the full length joists done, where we were only cutting 1.5 inches off of below 15 because, you know, we're 30 deep. You got to take the 1.5 inches off for the band board. Now we're getting into where there's headers over the basement windows. Now you got to take another 1.5 inches off, so a total of 3 inches. I'll take 3 1/8 off for some wiggle room. So now instead of our joist being 14 10.5, we're going to go 14 9 and well, 14 8 7/8, and that'll give us enough room between them headers above them basement windows and get these bad boys done. We have 10 more boards to cut, so, and then all the floor joist framing will be done, other than that one next to the floor opening for the basement stairs. Now I'll add, I know there'll be some people saying, wow, you're slow as hell. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not doing this as a competition. I'm doing it because I want to build myself a house and I want to make sure it's done as right as I can make it. I know I could stack a couple of these up on top of each other and cut them at the same time. I don't get why everyone's always such a rush these days. Take your time, enjoy what you're doing. And quite frankly, look around. Who would not enjoy just sitting out here listening to the birds, peace and quiet, with no one around? I don't mind it. I'm not in a rush. Keep getting asked, what's taking so long, or how far have we got done on the house? Well, with winter setting in, we didn't get much done there. Come down with COVID in the whole house, didn't get much done there. But it doesn't really affect us. We're not on a timeline. Yeah, we want the house done sooner rather than later, but it's not hurting us for it to take a little bit longer. Now these cutoffs, I have a whole stack of them over here. This is going to be my blocking between my floor joists. Some of them might be a tad too short, but for the most part, they can all get used. Some of them are split. We'll trash those. But I'm trying to make sense of all the lumber I'm getting. I don't want to throw anything away that doesn't need to be thrown away. Now the inspector says, per code, I don't need to block these floor joists because my span is not great enough to be required to, but I'm going to block them anyway. I'll show you later what blocking is and how it helps strengthen everything, but just figure I'd throw that in there. Think they're ready for some warm weather? Sure they are. Okay, so we're back over here. Got our floor joists laid out up here. Gonna start with the short ones as we have a window header above our basement window here. Gonna check our arrow facing up. We're going to just like that. Now, even though it's a 2x12, it's not 2x12, and there's some inconsistencies in the sizing. So like this, you can see it's flush on the bottom, but the joist is shorter than that header board there. So I'll just lift it up and end up putting my joist hanger underneath of it. You have to use joist hangers on the header because you can't nail through the outside here. The nails aren't long enough to get good embedment into the floor joist, so they have you use joist hangers. You can see from this one that I already did, I have to add nails. Ran short, but I'll get them added today, and we'll be double checking everything before floor sheeting goes on. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to measure off this joist. I have lines down here that I tried laying out, but they didn't come out 100%. So these floor joists are 16 on center, so I'm going to come off of this board here, make me a line 16. You can see it's lined up with that line there. I ended up laying out up here after these ones just to make sure, double checking myself. I'm just going to go ahead. You can see from the line I just marked up there down here, these were off about 1/4 of an inch. Not sure what happened there, but glad I found out beforehand. I will add, the back of the house overall measurement is about 1/4 inch wider than the front of the house. So with the block laying, you know, they were off just a little bit, which is no big deal. Now I got my line there. Set this joist back up. I'm always double checking. That's why it takes me so long to do things. I'm gonna double check. Then I'll even pull from another one, just to double check. Yeah. So I'm always double and triple checking. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, even though I try making it be. I'm gonna put that joist hanger underneath of it. I'll just use a nail under the 2x here to lift it up to where it needs to be. If that's not enough, then I'll use the corner of my square, which that's not enough. So I use the corner of my square. It's kind of like a wedge. Whenever you hang the joist hanger, they have these hooks in here. At the top, you can see this bent piece of metal. You're supposed to be able to take that, and that's your starter. So you smack it in, and it'll hold it so you can get some nails in it. Of course, it's not gonna hold it. Go figure. I'll go ahead and post the size of these nails. So much easier nailing by standing up top. I want to make sure that this 2x is buttoned up as tight as I can against the band board there. Okay, so I got most of that gap out now. It's touching at the bottom, just not at the top. But that's not that big of an issue for me. So we'll go ahead and get it nailed off there and keep rolling. Keep rolling. Okay, so now we have it. All the joists done. Went ahead and got the other 16-footer next to the stair opening done also. And ready for blocking. So blocking, whenever you put it in, the inspector says I don't need it for code because I'm less than 15-foot span. So I'm going to put blocking down the center of this half and same down that side. What the blocking does, it helps distribute the weight. So if you sat down, just say 100 pounds on this joist here, now the sheeting up above is going to help transfer that weight to the joist next to it. But by blocking it out, it helps transfer more of that weight, so more of the weight is transferred, so you don't have as much weight sitting on each floor joist. That's the idea behind it. And being as I have them scraps left over, we're gonna go ahead and use them. And pretty happy with the progress. Always wish we were further along, but it takes time. So if you remember, these ceilings were 8 foot plus 1 course. So we're actually 8 foot 4 inches tall, roughly. So that's height of the basement, and it looks good. So.